Okay, hello. This video will be on equalization. That was what was on our lesson plan for today. It's one of the processing techniques we'll be using for your next assignment. So what I have open here is Cakewalk. Like we had talked about for the virtual instrument assignment, is a free program. It is PC only, but the concepts we're talking about are not unique to Cakewalk. I have a virtual instrument loaded up for simplicity. The concepts we're talking about with equalization apply to any audio. I just thought about opening up a drum set. And you can see, before we get started on a simpler graphic equalizer, this virtual instrument has processing built into it. This is a drum set from this Native Instruments bundle I have. So, for instance, like if I click on these different drums here, it's turning, see these knobs underneath? This is a kind of equalizer. Actually, I realize I have a magnifier to show you. So these are equalizers right here. This one is a little bit more difficult to understand. They show like the different frequencies here and so on. I think it's easier to start with a graphic equalizer. So if you have Cakewalk installed, see in this first, see how I loaded this virtual instrument? This here is the MIDI channel. This is the audio. So you see again, let me zoom in here. Like I showed you before with the, right here. This is the actual audio. This is MIDI. So this is what the MIDI is going through. This is how we get our sound out of here. So see this effects, it says, FX, this is where we put effects. So if I right click here, insert audio effects, let me unzoom because it's hard to read. Insert audio effects, you go down to EQ. And you guys all have, if you installed a Cakewalk, you have this one called Sonitas or Sonitas equalizer. Ignore all this other stuff. That's the stuff I have on this computer. So Sonitas equalizer. This is a very straightforward equalizer. Again, let me zoom in for you. First off, see how there's 6 numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those are each one of your bands. This is a 6-band graphic equalizer. Okay? And each one of these bands is assigned to a frequency. So if you look below, band 1 is for 40 hertz, 60, 200, and so on. So if I play, when I'm adjusting the equalizer here, you can adjust the band, the frequency of the band. See, when I move it left to right, you can also do this, and you can even type in the numbers if you want, whatever works, okay? So what equalizers do, is they change the volume of certain frequencies. So if I want to find, let's do our old favorite, 440 hertz. If I want to take this volume of this A, I can increase the volume of that frequency. So if I start playing, I don't have headphones, I'm monitoring through these monitors, so there might be a little feedback, but there's a snare drum. Now, if I want to make that snare drum sound different, what if I start? Hear the sound change completely? What if I go the other way? Very different, right? What I'm doing is I'm cutting out, I kind of shifted it a bit, the 430 hertz, so again, if I put it in 440, I'm changing the volume of that frequency. So what an equalizer does is it allows you to change volume and frequencies. So you can make a custom sound here. See when I up the highs, so this is around 5,000 hertz. Here's 15, this is the airy high end. Remember we talked about in class, a lot of us couldn't hear this high. That gives it a little bit of more brightness. If I can cut things out, very different sounding drum. Now, that's just the first step to understand what an equalizer does. Some other things we should talk about that we did talk about one week is the kind of filters. And if you look here, we have low pass and high pass. Remember, low pass allows the lows to pass and the highs to fail, if you will. While a high pass filter allows the highs to pass and the lows to fail. So if I wanted to take this drum and get rid of a lot of the low sounds, I would use a low pass filter. Now you see the curve here? Sorry if this is flashbacks to 8th grade math here, but you see the slope of this line? If you want to change this, you adjust something called the Q. The Q is the bandwidth, and the Q is just a coefficient they use. It's just a number, a letter. Sorry. All right. So if I adjust this Q, look what happens as I raise it. See, I have a spike here. What did that just do? That just made this frequency here jump to plus 18 decibels a gain. That low, we're not hearing 40 here. I mean, the little speakers I'm using too cannot really produce that frequency very well. But if I bring it up here, hear how boomy that bass drum is? Hear that? That thud? So you can adjust the Q, and that changes the spike of this equalizer. But again, let's say we're trying to make a nice snare sound. I might want to cut out all the low rumbly sound. Maybe I want a little bit of a boost down here in the mids. Maybe I want a lot of high end. But I want the Q, I want a little spike right there. See what I'm doing? I don't like that, so let's change this band. So it's changing the shelving. That's something you want to play around with. I wanted to do it back to the normal. No, where's the original? That's too much. See? Okay. So what I'm doing is experimenting. There you go. It's a little too airy, a little too. Okay. So I adjusted the sound of this drum by changing these bands here. Now, some equalizers don't have 6 bands. This one is a 6-band EQ. Some other equalizers might look different. For instance, I like using, you don't have this one on here, but what I like about this Renaissance one, unless you guys find it somewhere if you want to buy this one, what I like about this one, it shows you the frequency. Okay? So this snare has a lot of about 200 hertz. So if there's, see, it kills it when I cut that out. And there's not much up here, so you add some. So this one's a nicer equalizer, and you got to buy it though. It's something that isn't free. And back to what I showed you in the beginning of the video, you can also do this here. So if I go to my kick specifically, this again, let me zoom in. These hertz, see, this is set to about, what is that, 80 hertz or so? It's logarithmic, so it's kind of hard to see. I can change the sound of this drum by giving more decibels to 600 hertz. That's weird, right? A bass drum with a boost of 20 decibels at 600 hertz, while there's a boost of 20 decibels at whatever number that is. Okay? And then you can do this with everything. I can go on my snare. Okay. If I hit the snare. So I'm doing? You can make custom drums like this. The toms on this kit sound great. But you have a microphone for each one, and you can adjust each one. That's what's nice about this software. But the equalizer works the same regardless of what software you're using. So feel free to experiment with that. It's one of the processing techniques. I recommend going on freesound.com, download a couple sounds, play with equalization, and see what you come up with. Also try it with virtual instruments. You can have a nice package of virtual instruments, bring in violin sounds, bring in guitar sounds, and see what you can do with it all. Okay? Feel free to experiment.